You're listening to Real Crime, the Movie Sleuth podcast.
Dear God, Chris, would you just sit down?
I'm
just
sitting.
Sit down.
I am sitting now.
It's a good song. I know. But I don't need to see you shaking your butt before the show. Every single week, man.
He twerks to it every episode.
He does.
Hell yeah, I do.
Thank God you can't see us.
Let's lead off with this. I don't know if the four of us sitting here, which we have the lovely Chris, who just sat back down, the lovely Michelle in the corner. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, I was already sitting.
And our guest, Mr. John.
Hello.
Who we'll be talking with him very soon here. I don't know if any of you, well, we're talking to you right now, actually. Did anybody hear this explosion earlier?
Yes,
where we live?
It was a meteor.
It was a meteor, yeah. I was out myself. I was shoveling my driveway, and I just, like I told you, Chris, I had my earbuds in just listening to something while I was working away, and it was that loud. Like, I heard it clear over my earbuds. And it was, we had a meteor. A friend of mine he's like the president of Michigan MUFON, which is like the Mutual UFO Network.
Yeah.
So he's always looking at the sky. He lives in Clawson, and he actually reported out on Facebook and said, okay, I saw it over my house, and you could actually see this thing coming through the sky, and it more or less just like going through the atmosphere, it exploded. And that's where the big boom, we had the sonic boom that happened. I don't know if you heard it or not, John.
They saw it over by Ohio, too.
Yeah, it was that big, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm not saying it was like directly over Clawson where he's at, but it was that big and that loud.
Yeah.
I heard it in Troy. People all the way down in Dearborn and downriver, which is pretty far from where we're at right here.
That's crazy.
They heard all this. So, I mean, Facebook lit up earlier. And people from all over the state were like, Shelby, for God's sake, which is north of here.
Yeah.
So that was pretty wild, which does kind of fit into our subject for tonight, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah. Yay.
But first, you look good. You look good this week, Chris.
Thank you, sir.
You look really good.
I look great.
I mean, I guess it's just too cold to shake people down for stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tried shaking a couple bums down, but they were frozen. So I was like, wake up, fucker. Wouldn't wake up.
Here, just take the news. It's too cold.
Just take the news.
What do we have this week in the news, Chris?
Well, first, we got to mention our horror giveaway that we're doing. We partnered with Wild Eye Releasing. We've got 5 awesome horror movies we're giving away. Also, make sure you check out the Flint Institute of Arts. They're continuing their weekly film series. And also, we got to mention projectorscreen.com.
I love projectorscreen.com.
They have the best projectorscreen.coms of anybody.
Ever. No. They rule. Check them out. Visit projectorscreen.com.
Okay. So in news this week, J.J. Abrams is shopping a space drama for TV. So he's actually going back to television again, which is kind of cool. Kind of excited about that. In other news, the scriptwriters from Spider-Man Homecoming are now attached to direct Flashpoint.
Oh.
Which is kind of weird. And other news came out today that they actually had initially asked Ben Affleck to direct Flashpoint, and he turned them down.
So would Flashpoint be Flash's movie? There wouldn't be a Flash movie and then Flashpoint?
No, they're just doing Flashpoint.
That don't make no damn sense.
They don't make any sense with this entire thing. It's just a mess.
Flashpoint is so far down in like the Flash's like history of comics.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't want to rip on DC too much.
I mean, I'll watch it. Flashpoint's a badass story if they do it right, so.
In other news, Scoot McNairy has officially joined True Detective Season 3, signing on with Mahershala Ali and Steven Dorff. That's going to be out in 2019. So we're getting True Detective back on HBO. They also announced today that Solo, a Star Wars story. Does anybody really want this movie?
No.
No, not at all.
I'm not excited or aroused or erect about this movie.
I felt a little flutter down there, but that was it.
Yeah. I'm just not excited for it.
No, do we have to know every fucking thing?
No.
Yeah. I mean, I was excited for Emilia Clarke because I'm a big Game of Thrones fan.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for Donald Glover because he's amazing, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So basically what they did today, they announced that this is actually going to tell the backstory of Han and Chewie meeting each other. I don't need to know about this. I don't need to know this.
I don't.
Yeah.
No.
Yep. So Paddington 2 has followed the trend on Rotten Tomatoes that Lady Bird had. Paddington 2 is the 4th movie of all time to get a 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. People are loving this bear. Strange.
I've heard that the first Paddington is really good, so I kind of want to watch it now because
Yeah, same.
apparently it's pretty funny, well-made movie, and part 2 is even better.
I just don't care.
I like bears.
Yeah.
Bear. You
Bear.
guys saw that
Okay.
dumb video, anyways. Yeah. Bear.
So in new releases this week, we've got 12 Strong that looks like some kind of military action movie. Then we've got the new 50 Cent movie, Den of Thieves, coming out. Don't care about that either. and there's another movie coming out called Forever My Girl. So,
Oh man, I'm gonna be all over that.
yeah, forever.
Forever.
It's January dumping ground.
It
That's where
is.
they put all the shit
It's the
movies.
after holiday rush now where they're just going to dump all the straight to video crap that's getting put out in the theaters.
Yeah.
And we get the really shitty horror movies.
Yeah.
And the
Yep.
occasional gem.
Yep. Insidious 4 wasn't actually that bad though. I was actually
I
pretty
still have to
shocked.
see
Yeah, I
that.
heard it wasn't.
Yeah.
I
So-
love that series. That franchise is fantastic. All the first 3 were great. I'm going to see the 4th one too for sure.
Okay.
All right.
Suggested viewings for this week. I'm going to steal Michelle's thunder here, and I'm going to go with the Black Mirror episode of USS Callister because I've actually watched it like 3 times now, and it is really, really, really good. So if you're going to watch Netflix, definitely check out the latest season of Black Mirror, and that first episode just kicks ass.
It does.
Who's next?
Michelle.
I'm gonna. Everybody that follows me on Facebook knows I haven't shut up about this show, but Devilman Crybaby is like one of the best anime I've seen in the past maybe like 5 years,
Oh, wow.
and it's super gory. It's based on a 1970s manga by Go Nagai, who is notorious for making extreme content, and then they and then Netflix just gave a whole bunch of money to Masaki Yusai, who was like this experimental avant-garde anime director, and he just absolutely blew it out the water. It's amazing. It's so extreme. I haven't seen an anime this fucked up since when they used to make them in the 80s and the 90s, and there's like cool freestyle rapping in it and awesome action scenes. And this is like really good. So if you like anime and you have Netflix, it's only 10 episodes, so you can bang it out in a night too. So
I like the way you said that.
Yeah.
you can Netflix and chill it, and have time for foreplay and a cigarette after.
And then bang it out.
And then bang it out again.
But you're not gonna want to after you watch it because it's sad. You're gonna be all depressed.
Yeah, misery sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, you got anything
John.
you want to suggest?
I actually do. I watched a really good movie on Netflix last night. It's called Zero Dark Times. It's really good. Kind of
Saw
a
that.
coming
I
of
saw-
age story.
Yeah.
2 high school students. I actually might have got the name of that wrong. It's either Zero Dark Times or
it's
Super Dark Times.
Super Dark
Super
Times.
Dark
Super
Times.
Dark
Yeah, it's
Times.
went
Yes.
by. I've seen it in the thing a billion
is.
times. It's Super Dark Times.
Yeah, my apologies for that, but
It's
it's
all right.
a really good kind of coming of age story. 2 high school students just living their lives, and tragedy strikes, and the movie kind of turns itself upside down, and it gets really twisted. It almost has a Donnie Darko vibe
Yeah,
to
that's
it,
what I was
and that's what I
gonna say,
really
too.
like about it.
Yeah. It
I've
reminds
been
me
meaning
of,
to. I've seen that a bunch of times. Just kind of been passing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Now I'll have to watch it.
it's like Donnie
Yeah.
Darko meets River's Edge.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah. John's
No.
our friend me on.
I have to watch it. I
Yuck.
definitely have
Yeah.
to watch it now. Well, I guess we're on the Netflix tip tonight.
Yeah, sure.
We're all on Netflix's shit. I finally was able to sit down and bang out the Keepers, the documentary The Keepers, which was kind of like they were calling it like the next what the hell was that one? What the hell? Making of a Murderer.
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of the same in the same ballpark as
Okay.
that, which I really enjoyed. Making of a Murderer. And The Keepers, and that's another one you can, I hate to say that again, but it's a quick watch. It's only like 7 episodes, a little under an hour each, so, not much of an investment of time, and you'll end up hating everything when you're at the end of this thing. You'll be so pissed off. But it's an immensely interesting and complex story that these people have been working on, and it's kind of it's still, it may have ran out of steam by now. I just haven't had a chance to sit down and make that investment of time.
Yeah.
Finally had some time off, and I did it, and I really enjoyed it. So if you haven't seen that yet, get it while it's still there, because it'll be gone sooner or later from Netflix.
I gotta check that one out.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like I said, it isn't a lot of time invested either, and I don't want to spoil anything, but fuck. Oh my God,
Yeah.
it's heavy. It's really.
I like those kind of documentaries.
It's hard to watch. It's upsetting, man. It's disturbing. So, yeah.
All right,
check that out. So what are we gonna? Episode 70.
It's number 70. We've actually done a lot of episodes. It's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
But we're gonna try.
I still hate you.
I still hate you too.
Yeah,
but we're gonna try and get back on it a little better with the schedule.
Well, it's been a little while. We've had the holidays and everything going on, and we've had some pretty crazy weather here too. And
Meteor strikes.
Yeah, and we've had a freaking meteor strikes tonight. So the fact that we're sitting here right now is a miracle in its own right. We're going to be getting a little bit more regular with our productions here. So
just bear with us.
The email, we're tired of it. Just leave us alone.
Yeah, stop harassing us.
Oh God, man, just stop this crap. So what is the subject tonight, Chris?
We're going to talk about Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
because
we've been wanting to.
We've been wanting to do this for a couple weeks. We never had a chance to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think now that some time has passed, it's been out for a month. It's been out for 4 weeks now. We can actually talk about this movie and we can spoil the fuck out of it and nobody's going to care. Because typically we try not to spoil anything. But in this, I think we're going to, because this is not going to be a topic we're going to be able to really dig into without touching on plot points and the things that people are bitching about that they really shouldn't be bitching about.
Well, let's start off with this. This is just my take on this thing, and I'm very curious to see how you guys feel about this too. I know we're going to get into some of the, like you just said, some of the bitching.
Yeah.
Right? Myself, going back to The Force Awakens, which is only a couple of years ago now, if I had a choice in the matter and, okay, Scott, we're going to do more, we can either do more Star Wars or we can not do more Star Wars. You choose for us. I honestly would say, just leave it alone. We're good. But it is where it is. I don't make those decisions. Nobody in this room makes those decisions. So why not enjoy it?
Exactly.
That's kind of just it's a simple take, right? I mean, I have my own my ideas and my complaints too, and I'm sure we'll all discuss those tonight. But it is where it is. It's here. And I don't care how many petitions you do. You can't delete. How much did they spend on that movie? 200 million?
More.
It's like 300 million?
Yeah, easily.
You can't
easily
erase a $300 million movie. You can't make it vaporize.
No.
It's not going anywhere. That idea to me is hysterical. Like, we're going to make it go away. You're not making it go away.
Well, you've got the people like, Disney is not part of canon. Like, bro, Disney bought Star Wars.
They bought it.
It's canon. Sorry.
They own it.
Sorry about your luck, but it's not going anywhere.
If you had the money,
canon.
you could buy it.
Yeah.
If you had the money, you could buy it too. But you don't have the fucking money.
Exactly.
So, and that's not shooting on anybody at all. But that's just like kind of my lead off on this thing, at least, where I'm at with this thing. Yeah, I'm not exactly excited about the fact that, but okay, fine. Well, we're gonna see this shit whether we like it or not. So, you might as well enjoy it while it's happening. I guess.
Well, for me, me and my son went to the press screening, and it was in this huge auditorium, and there's only like 25 people there.
Yeah.
So we all know how acoustics work. If you don't have a lot of people in a room, the sound is going to be off. Like there's not enough bodies in there to soak up any of the noise. And the first time we saw it was really boomy in there, and they didn't have the vocal channel turned up loud enough in the mix. And I tell you what, like the first 30 minutes, I was completely out of the movie because I didn't really understand what they were saying.
Yeah.
And I was not getting the full realm or feel of like the bombing run at the very beginning. You could barely hear anything, and there was no voices and you couldn't feel the tension basically. So
that's
we
the
walk
fuck up on a theater.
Yeah, and it's a press screening. Like you want that stuff fine tuned because these are the people that are going to go home and write about it.
Yeah,
we walked out that first time, and you guys all saw my post on Facebook, like, he screwed the pooch on this, blah, 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 blah. So we gave it another viewing on Thursday night, and just on that second viewing, my whole opinion did like a 180. It was like, oh, this kind of sucked. And then I went to, this is actually pretty damn good. And it actually captured the same aesthetics from the original trilogy really well. The scripting is actually very similar to the original trilogy. And my mindset started to change about it. Then on the third viewing, I saw it in the Dolby Cinema. And then I just said, well, okay, I went from like a 7 to like a 9. So I don't know if you guys had the same experience as me or not, but I know you said, John.
Yeah, I was very conflicted the first time I saw the film, just based on the fact that it was so different and it was such a new direction. Like, it kind of hit me like a bag of nickels. I was just like, what just happened? Like, what's up with all these new force powers? Like, what is going on here? And I kind of had a knee-jerk reaction, being a big fan, and I kind of was like, I don't know if I like that. And I went to sleep, and I kind of thought about it, and I woke up in the morning, and my opinion started to change then. And then I went to see it 2 more times, and it like you, switched over from like a 7 to like a 9, even though I don't like using scores because I think they're dumb. But it switched over from like, I wasn't really feeling it, I didn't understand what was going on, to, okay, this is actually pretty cool.
Right.
Michelle.
Well, I don't have a connection to Star Wars like you guys. I passively like it, like, oh, it's not a bad.
Well, that's where I'm at too.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at.
I'm kind of indifferent to Star Wars in general. So when I saw it, I immediately liked it because it was doing something new and interesting with the story. And I like stuff like that. I like subversive things. I like movies that take risks. So I immediately was attracted to that aspect of it, and I loved it. And my boyfriend, who's a huge Star Wars fan, he loved it too. I mean, but he had the same kind of reservations that you guys did, though, and I think that's because he's like 10 times the Star Wars fan I am. So he has this really visceral connection to these characters, so it's harder for him to let go of preconceived notions of how their story arc should be. Whereas I don't have that connection. I just think of them more as like fictional characters in a story. So I'm like, oh, that's the natural progression of what's supposed to happen in a long running series. I kind of pick it apart a little bit more. I don't want to say objectively, but it just I'm a little bit less emotionally attached to it when I pick it apart, and it doesn't bother me as much. So I can kind of see both sides of reactions to it. Most really big fans initially were like, oh, what are you doing? What's going on? Because they're not used to that kind of deconstruction going on in Star Wars. Star Wars is always, out of the 2 franchises of Star Trek and Star Wars, I always saw Star Wars as a little bit more, it's a little bit more, it's simpler, not in a bad way, just it's more of a space opera.
Well,
good
it's fantasy.
Versus,
it's more fantasy.
Yeah. It's less, I won't say it's less deep, but there's less things going on in it. And then Rian Johnson was like taking all the aspects of Star Wars, and he started kind of taking the pieces apart, which is what he does. If you watch any of his other filmography, that's what he's good at, like Brick or Looper. He takes tropes and he kind of deconstructs them and puts them back together in different ways. That's what he did to this, and people were like not ready for that at all. So I think that's why upon extra viewings, it kind of clicks more with people, because you're like, oh, that's what he was doing. When you because on the second and the third viewing, you removed yourself from being so emotionally attached as the first viewing.
It's funny for me because, that first time, like, watching it, like, a lot of people got really thrown by some of the changes. And for me, it wasn't really the changes that threw me. It, I think, was number one, the audio being bad, and just kind of, I felt like I kind of had to be sold on this guy. Like, what's he going to do with the galaxy now? But some of the things he did, like, I know a lot of people hated this, but when Leia got blown into space, I was like, dude, I'm like, no way. I said they were not going to kill Leia, and they are not going to kill Leia in this movie. They just can't do it. It would be disrespectful to Carrie Fisher for them to actually kill her in this movie. And when she used the Force to bring herself back on to the transport, I was literally like, I like elbowed Connor, my son, sitting next to me. I'm like, dude, that is fucking cool. That is rad as fuck. And he's like laughing at me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they just changed the way the Force can be used. It's always been this thing for lifting rocks or moving walls or bringing a lightsaber that you dropped over to you or for reading minds. Now she is literally using this to move herself and protect herself in the vastness of space. I'm like, this has never been done before. This is pretty cool. And I think that was a really nice change and something that a lot of people are like, no, she's dumb.
Yeah, I agree. Fuck that.
I just don't understand like why people are so adverse to the Force being used in new ways, because it's a mysterious force that nobody really knows how it works exactly. Especially if you ignore the prequels where they're doing that stupid ass midichlorian count or the fuck that shit was. Let's just ignore that shit because it's dumb. So Ryan Johnson's like, oh man, the Force is fucking mysterious power, and if you read any of like the extended universe stuff or play the games, they do all kinds of crazy shit with the Force and that stuff.
Yeah,
so I feel like it wasn't too crazy. I mean, she's just put a little force field around herself and she used momentum to pull herself into space, and she's weightless. It's not like she moved a whole ship or fucking something. It just didn't seem that weird outside the realm of the own universe's like boundaries of how the Force is used, I guess. But I always feel like they should use the Force in more interesting ways, and they did. Now everybody's all mad.
He made it mysterious again. He really did. The thing I really liked about that was in A New Hope, where like what's going on, like we don't know anything yet, and it's this mysterious thing that they're doing, like in the scene where Obi-Wan, where he used that Force,
mind control.
Yeah, the mind control on the stormtrooper. Like it was like that, and you're kind of like, what's going on? And Ryan Johnson, he kind of made that feeling kind of come back. Like, okay, it's all like a mystery again, and now it's all this new stuff. Like, what is he doing? So I thought it was pretty cool, and I never I always left the Force to be kind of ambiguous. Like I never was like, okay, you can only lift rocks and you can only like teleport people or like Force push people. I always knew, okay, it must be a lot of other stuff. Like, Yoda, he's what, like over 900 years old. Like I'm pretty sure it's all kinds of cool stuff that he can do with the Force that we never get to see in the movies. So it's like, do people not think about that? Like it's,
Well, and the same thing with the Force projection of Luke. When he projected himself to the other planet telepathically, and Kylo like basically sticks the lightsaber through him.
Yeah.
I kind of almost thought that was going to happen. I kind of like was like, he's not really here right now. But I thought that was really cool too. Like, they've never done this before either. And so many people are like, oh, that was dumb too. He shouldn't be able to do that. It's like, you just don't know. We've only had 6 movies that the Force has actually been used in, and none of them have really centered that much on the Force because there's been so much other stuff going on. And this movie is called The Last Jedi. So it should be focused on the Force and finding out what else we can do with it. So I love that scene at the end.
That was actually a really interesting
cool
scene because it kind of served a dual purpose of letting the fanboys get a taste of Luke being a badass, because everybody was waiting for Luke to come back. A normal story progression would have, like in the beginning Luke's a hermit, in the middle he has some kind of outside force like, hey, you need to use the Force again, and then there's a conflict that happens that forces him to use it, and then he comes back at the end like with this big hurrah at the climax with an awesome big giant fight, which is how a normal movie would play out, which is actually what they did. But again, Ryan Johnson likes to subvert things, so he gives you the battle that you want from Luke, where he's standing there and they fucking blast him and he just brushes his shoulders off and it's all fucking awesome, and everybody's like dicks real hard like, oh yeah, he just fucking shit up. And then Ryan Johnson subverts it by having it be a projection, which is also an interesting idea because the projection is the idealized version of Luke, and also the fans of Star Wars want to see the idealized version of the story in their head, but they didn't get it. Right. Just like, it has to end. It has to be finished. So you kind of get both things, though. He lets you have the cool fight. You get to see it before you get the plot twist of that's not actually Luke, he's projecting himself. So he still gets the interesting end to his arc. So you get both things, but as people were still mad about it. I don't get it.
Because they just wanted Luke to do something crazy and freaking jump up and down and like fight the ATs and everything and just go crazy, you know. But instead he didn't swing a single lightsaber, and people were really upset about that.
He projected himself across the motherfucking universe. That's
Right.
like the
Is
coolest
that
thing
not
ever.
cool enough?
Here lies the problem with that for me. With the prequels, especially like with Revenge of the Sith, people were like, oh, you know, they never fought like that in the original movies. They just kind of stood there and fought like they were fighting with swords. And then you get the prequels, and they are doing the crazy ass acrobatics and jumping off walls and doing all this insane stuff. Yeah. And people kind of like were mad about that. And then you set it back to, okay, this is going to be Luke facing down Kylo Ren the exact same way that Obi-Wan faced down Darth Vader in 1977. This slow-paced standoff, and they're still bitching about it. Which one do you want? Do you want the high-speed edited action sequences, or do you want them facing each other down? Which one is it?
I think it's a little bit more of an impact when you have the more realistic style fighting scenes, because and especially because the CGI in the prequels hasn't aged well. It looks very video gamey and floaty. It doesn't look good. I mean, the stuff with who's the guy? I'm really bad with Star Wars stuff. Darth Maul.
Yeah,
that dude was badass as a motherfucker. I like that guy. That
awesome.
fight was badass as shit at the end. It's like when he's doing all his flips and shit. That looks cool and realistic. But a lot of the other stuff with like Yoda flipping around, all that shit looks fake as fuck. But like, there's more this personal impact and weight behind these fights, and especially they had the guys that did the raid do the fight choreography for The Force Awakens, and I don't know if they did this one too. I'd have to check into that. But those are like more realistic style fights with weight behind them and good framing and good like editing and you really feel like the clash. And there's like that awesome fight with Kylo Ren and Rey when they're fighting Snoke's guard.
The Praetorian
and they have like
guards.
5 different weapons. They're like using plasma fucking nunchucks and shit. I was like, this is like the coolest shit ever. Like, how is that not the awesome lightsaber fight that you wanted? Like, I don't.
That was always a personal dream of mine to see like they were basically, those Praetorian guards were basically like space samurai like dudes. It was really cool to see that.
They were the pimpest fucking, that whole entire like his fucking chamber.
So sweet.
That shit was making my nipples hard. I was like, that fucking red ass wall and fucking, or this fucking looked awesome in there.
The robe he had on, like all the jewelry he had and stuff. It was really cool.
Sorry, I got excited about that part. I was like,
you did. You're excited right now.
Them, both of them were like, boing.
Going, you know,
I'm easy to please, man.
I proved that to her on Saturday night when I gave her that lap dance.
I was like, this is good. I'm all right with this.
Yes. He's just laying on top of me. It's all good. You know, going back to that throne room scene too, the entire thing with Snoke, when he died like a bitch, all 3 times I've seen it, I crack up now, because that is literally Rian Johnson saying, fuck you fucking fanboys.
Yep.
For 2 years now, it's been Snoke is Palpatine, Snoke is this guy, Snoke is Neon Numb, Snoke
screw
is
your theories.
this, blah, blah, blah. He was like, he's nobody. He's his own character, and I am going to take control, and I am going to kill him because he is nothing more than this supreme leader. And I crack up. I'm like, yeah, dude, that's the way to do it. Fuck everybody.
I thought Snoke was like super boring. I'm just like, how many evil emperor
do we need?
Dudes do we
Well,
have?
yeah, that was my reaction when I first saw Snoke was just that. I'm like, okay, how many rungs up the ladder are we gonna go till we finally get to like, okay, this is the fucking boss now. This is the dude, right? And that's what that's Snoke's never really excited me. I didn't have any hard nipples for him.
No.
That's all.
There was nothing to him.
No, there wasn't.
He wasn't as interesting as like Palpatine.
Palpatine was very interesting, obviously.
Well, because Palpatine in The Empire Strikes Back, when they first introduced him, we were like, is that a woman? Is that a man? Because the effects, the visuals were so underdeveloped at that point. you couldn't tell. You just saw this like character with like droopy eyes.
Mm-hmm.
All you knew was he was controlling Vader. There was no he's Palpatine. There was no he's the Emperor. There was nothing. And there was no real revelation with him until Return of the Jedi. It wasn't until Lucas went back later on and made Palpatine look different in The Empire Strikes Back, so that Empire and Return of the Jedi had a little more like connection or flow between them. But all that backstory to Palpatine in the prequels, even, like, I just don't care. Like, I think it's cool. Okay, yeah, he helped, make Vader who Vader is, da-da-da-da. But too much explanation for me. And that's kind of what I liked about Snoke, was there's nothing to him. We're just giving you this grand supreme leader, blah, 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 and he's just there. And now we're going to kill him. We don't need...
We'll have an origins for him, probably. Don't worry.
Yeah.
That's on its way down the
His
pipe.
side
Guaranteed.
story.
Yeah.
Snoke's adventures.
Snoke, a Star Wars story.
Yeah. It'll be great.
God.
It'll be great. We'll get to learn all about Snoke. He was a dashing, young, beautiful man until he fell off a hill and hurt his face. The usual shit.
Snoke is Leatherface.
Yeah.
I would say, though, those kinds of stories, they're better reserved for different things in the expanded universe. Like, Disney can make a book about that. Like, they can write a novel about Snoke.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They can write a novel. Like Solo, a Star Wars story, it should be a novel that you can just go and buy if you really want to know that. Like, not a $250 million movie,
Well, yeah, like the Han Solo movie that we mentioned earlier. I don't know one single person that's like, oh, I can't wait for the Han Solo movie.
Yeah.
I don't need background for Han Solo. I know enough about the guy already from the original movies. We know he's a smuggler. We know Chewbacca's his buddy. And I don't need like, oh, they did this and then I just don't
Han
need it.
Solo is one of those characters too. I mean, I really am happy with what I know about him and what I've seen from him. Just where we are now, right?
Yeah.
I honestly think that, a side story or an origins, whatever, on Han Solo especially, we're really cheap in the character. I don't need, and again, it's that whole explanation thing. I don't want to know if he had feelings at one time. I don't want to know those things. Like, we know that he loves. We know that he's a loving person. He has that capacity, but you don't really ever see that. And I'm just saying this is all hypothetical now.
Yeah.
This is what we could see, right? We do know he loves, for example, but you never really see. You see him, affectionate, but you never really see him soften up. He's always been hard through all these films. Han Solo has always been a hard character, a hardened person. I don't want to see him in any different light than that. I want to see him. I just want to remember him how I remember him now. And I'm afraid that if they're going to do it.
Well, yeah,
we can't stop it. It's going to happen.
It's already happened
in May.
And I mean, now am I gonna go and protest and be out in front of the theater, peeing on the front steps of the place, or running around streaking the theater? No, it is where it is, and they'll take my money like they always do. I'll go see it.
We'll all see it day one, and then see it again, and then see it 2 more times.
Yeah, and I'll have my reservations like I have now, and I mean that's the thing with this is the ultimate gold mine of entertainment, what we're talking about right now, because even if you hate it, you still go see it.
Yeah. I will say, though,
just
on a little side note, I have to mention this. I recently, for the first time, played through Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. It recently, last year, it became backwards compatible with the Xbox One, and took me like 2 weeks to beat it. It is literally probably in the top 3 like best games I've ever played. I had a blast with it. And if Disney ever did a movie about Bastila and Darth Malak, oh god, that would be amazing. Talk about amazing, well-written characters. Like, the characters in that game are probably more interesting to me than most of the characters in all of the movies. Like that. Yeah. The game is written so well. Like, obviously that was like, when BioWare still was a good game developer, but it was amazing. Like, I'm still thinking about that game and like how cool Bastila was, like, as a character.
See, and expanding on that, I kind of, the other thing with The Last Jedi is, with Luke Skywalker dead, yes, he can come back as a Force ghost, but this movie actually basically finally concluded the Skywalker saga after
Yeah.
8 movies. There's, Leia is not going to be alive in the next movie. I mean, basically, I'm estimating that with what we saw happen in the end with the kid
Yeah.
using the Force to grab the broom and then basically saying, we have enough to build a resistance or whatever
Yeah.
they say. I think the next movie is probably going to go 10 years into the future, and they're going to have reformed the rebellion, and Rey will probably have restarted the Jedi Order. She'll probably be training kids again, is my best guess. I kind of like the fact that the Skywalker thing is ending finally, and we might get some room to do something like that, where we do get an expanded universe movie that has nothing to do with anything that we've ever seen before. Yeah, it'll interconnect somehow, but even Rogue One was directly connected to everything. It would be cool to see something that just moves outside of all of this.
That's an interesting theory. I really like that. So do you think, like, in episode 9, they'll kind of just write her off and they'll say, oh, it's 10 years later, she passed away, like something like that?
It's because Abrams is directing episode 9. It's going to be the same thing he did with Spock Prime. When Leonard Nimoy died, they basically just said in the new Star Trek movies, hey, Spock died off screen. We're really sorry, blah, 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 to new Spock. And I think it's going to be the same kind of thing. Like, Leia died, in between these 2 movies. They'll explain it away somehow. Because they already said they're not CGIing her. They're not bringing her back in any shape or form for the next movie, and she had filmed no scenes for it. So that's really the only thing they can do is time jump, which would be rad. I'd be totally down with that.
Yeah, that would be cool.
So what about that great casino scene in The Last Jedi?
Canto Bite.
Fucking pointless.
Yeah, that's like my main negative.
Fucking pointless.
It was
It was like a side quest you didn't care about, and you're just like, let's just go back to the main quest.
What wasn't it like a Disney movie?
Yeah,
it was like it was ripped straight from a Disney movie.
Yeah, it was just weird and the tonally weird. I understood what they were trying to do with it, because they were trying to like be like, oh, there's like class structure warfare, and there's like, the elites are basically funding the war economy and all this, which is like actually a super interesting idea that could have been in a whole other movie. It's just way too much like, it's just too many things they're trying to do in one movie. Like, I like the idea, but it was superfluous and it felt like filler. And the movie's already a little too long, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They could have cut that out completely, and I think the movie would have been a lot better for it.
It was also the kid, right? Like, that scene served a purpose for him too, because that's where we first meet him, the kid at the end.
Oh yeah, but I think they still could have just had that kid at the end, and it would have still made sense, like thematically, like, oh, we're passing on the Force to a new generation.
Okay, yeah, good point.
I did like, I'm really bad with names in Star Wars again. Who was the guy that Benicio del Toro?
Yeah.
What was that guy's name?
What the fuck was that?
I actually liked that character. I wish they could have used him in a different aspect and maybe less of him. But I liked the moral ambiguity, gray area kind of thing.
That was really cool. Yeah.
But
basically, he was Lando Calrissian, but Benicio del Toro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he should have. You remember the guy that they originally went to Canto Bite for?
Yeah, the Master Code Breaker.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, like, you don't see him anymore, and then Del Toro serves that purpose. Like, why didn't they just make Del Toro that character? Like, why even cast that? That's one of the problems I had with the movie. Like, why even show him, like, oh, here's the guy we're looking for, and then they find Del Toro, like, he breaks them out, and then he's like, oh, I can do what that guy was gonna do. So, like, what was the point of that?
It's just,
like,
and then there's like the weird horse shit, and like the what the fuck, and just it looked fugly too. Like, I didn't like the way the casino shit looked, and
when the casino scene started. The first thing I thought was, this looks like Star Trek, not Star Wars. This is like a planetary excursion on Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because the people are dressed differently. They didn't look like they belonged in Star Wars. The guards did. Like the police, the security guards, they looked like they belonged in Star Wars. But the rest of the stuff felt very Star Trek to me. The entire, that whole part did. But the free the horses shit, oh my God.
terrible.
I was like, this is like them having to throw in all the animals in the creatures in Attack of the Clones at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt like those horse creatures. I was like, this reminds me of Attack of the Clones.
Yeah,
Why
it's very
are we just
prequel
throwing
feeling.
filler in here to fill?
I feel like they
could-
didn't know what to do with Finn's character. Like
They
they kind of
wasted
didn't.
it.
Yeah,
They wasted it.
He was just like the entire thing that he did there had fucking no point too. At the end, they were just like, "Oh, actually, never mind." And then so he just went all that place for nothing. Like I felt like they could have did something else with them on the ship with Poe. Maybe had him doing some like espionage shit on the ship or something. And like Poe's like talking to him and he meets Rose and Rose help. You know, all that stuff could have been on the ship, which would have kept it more like tighter
Focused.
together. Yeah.
I felt like he was doing the exact same thing that he did in The Force Awakens. In The Force Awakens, he was running away and he was trying to get away from the First Order. And then in The Last Jedi, he's trying to run away from all his friends to get to Rey because he's so worried about Rey. Like it actually kind of made me chuckle a little bit. Like he wakes up and then he's like, Rey, like that's the first thing that's like on his mind, you know. Like and he was just like running throughout the whole movie, and he's a really good actor. I feel like they kind of just wasted his
They
potential.
did.
And as for what was the Asian chick's name again?
Rose.
Yeah, as for Rose, I think she was just a Disney character. She was just a Disney character in every sense of the word. Like she was just such a Disney
Well,
character.
total Disney character. My sister died. Total Disney character. Like every Disney mom dies. My sister died. Now I have to go on an adventure. I did not like her character at all.
Me either.
It fell so flat for me. Just that Rose, that character just fell so flat for me.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel she dies. Yeah.
She
dies.
doesn't die.
Yeah.
We're-
Well,
she-
see, that's how little fucks I care about her. I can't remember what the fuck happened to her. I just
It was basically the
was
same thing
pointless.
that happened to Finn in The Force
Yeah,
Awakens.
yeah.
Like she's kind of in flux,
Yeah.
you know.
And nothing against her. Like she's probably
Yeah,
a
she's
cool
fine.
actor. It's just
No, fuck her. I don't like her as a person.
Whoever wrote her character, it was
no, fuck her. Don't like her.
I mean, actually, I feel like they
Just
could have
kidding.
used her well, and they just didn't. I
Yeah,
mean, Finn
yeah.
and Rose were just felt very underwritten and like kind of thrown in. Like they're like, "Fuck, we need Finn because he's in the other movie, and then we'll give him Rose for just extra stuff." And then
Yeah.
it just because the other part
Give
is
us a
so
poontang.
compelling that you want to keep going back to that. Like every time they were on Casino, I was just like, "Fucking God, it sucks." Oh no, I want to know what's going on in the cool island with Luke and the
Yeah.
blue milk titties and
Yeah.
shit. And then like we keep going back to this boring dude.
Can we
the
talk
milk-
about the blue milk? The
I
blue
want
milk
to talk.
titties for a second?
I need to talk about the blue milk titties for a minute.
Now that woke me up.
Okay,
That woke me up.
That woke me up too. Now here is another bitch that I keep hearing from the fanboys. Okay, Luke would never run away to this deserted island and not let anybody know where he is, and he would not abandon his friends. Hold on just a fucking second.
Oh,
Obi-Wan did it. Yoda did it. Both of his mentors, when they feared for the people around them, what did they do?
they took off.
They fucked off to another planet.
Yeah.
Okay? And then you've got Luke suckling on the blue milky titties. Do you have blue titties, Michelle? No. Anyway, that's beside the point. Scott's over here breaking the microphone.
I broke the mic. Keep
Um,
going. I'm gonna fix this.
The blue milk titty thing, like a lot of people are like that, like, oh, that's just so out of character. Luke was doing the Yoda thing. Luke was trying to throw her off, just like Yoda was trying to throw off Luke when Luke arrived on Dagobah with the eating the food, you know,
Yeah.
acting all silly and shit.
Yeah.
Luke was acting like out of character, out of sorts, trying to throw her off. Like, man, if I act really weird, maybe she'll just fuck off to another planet, you know? And I keep hearing people go on and on and on. He'd never do that. Yes, he would. It's the exact same thing all the rest of the Jedis did.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't he do it?
Plus, I mean, you gotta realize it's been what 25 years.
yeah.
Since then, like people are like, why isn't his character exactly the same? Like, does anybody stay the same for 25 years? You're not the same person you were in your 20s when you're in your 30s.
That was
And-
literally
it makes no sense to me how people would be confused about him being different.
That was the most annoying thing of the criticism. Like, they wanted him to be Return of the Jedi, like Luke. Like, how is that even possible? It's 30 years between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Yeah, you're going to change. We've all changed in 5 years.
Yeah. And
I just get sexier every year. So, I mean,
maybe Luke was keeping himself young with the blue titty milk. We don't know. There might be some properties to it or something.
Yeah.
But I think I find the idea kind of like fascinating about the Force. Sorry, I'm trying to go from like milk titties like a serious
blue
subject.
titty bukkake. This Star Wars movie's got bukkake in it.
Oh, dude. When I saw that, it just like I said, that woke me up. I was like, because it's kind of a tense scene. They're going back and forth, and then just out of nowhere, he pulls his bottle out, walks around a corner, and I'm like, what the fuck happened with blue titty milk? What's going on?
I keep finding all these pictures, like people draw of it on the internet and sending it to my boyfriend. He's like, fucking stop. He's like, stop sending me these. I'm like, no.
It's disturbing. Ugh.
What
Anyways.
was the deal with Kylo Ren having his shirt off in that scene?
Because he's sexy, and he worked on his abs, and he wanted to show them.
No, he didn't.
He is a wide man.
Yeah.
Why was he so wide?
Dude, I for reals think Adam Driver's like super hot, but he's in the category I like to put like, weird hot. But I mean, I'd do him. He's good looking.
Well, I'd do him just for the story.
Well, did you see they had the Kylo Ren challenge on Instagram? It was hashtag Kylo Ren, and everybody was pulling their pants up to like under their nipples and taking shirtless pictures. You gotta look it up. It's funny.
That generated some pretty awesome memes for about 2 weeks.
Memes were on fire right after that.
Well, I will point out, and I mean, given my opinion on the film, or my broad opinion on this whole thing, one thing I've been saying consistently, because I've only seen it once. I haven't died. It's just a time thing. Haven't been able to get. Yeah. I'm going to get there soon to see it again. But on my viewing of it, there were 3, and I count 3 separate times where I literally did choke up and well up. I mean, I never thought I was that emotionally attached to these films. I've said that already on the show. I don't consider myself like, a super fan. I enjoy them. I think they're great stories, but this movie really did cut into some nerves, I think. I mean, because knowing what happens to Luke Skywalker now, that is a little part of yourself that's dying too, I think. I mean, not to get too deep or too, touchy-feely with this thing, but that is how I felt when I watched this film. And there is a part in the credits where that was when I was watching the credits and I saw that come by. I was like, "Oh fuck me!" There's a lot of emotion, real emotion tied to this film that was beyond the creative efforts of the film. We all know what those are. What that is. Okay, so that added weight, I think, to the story. I mean, just the memories and the nostalgia of these films that I know we all have, no matter whether you're a passive fan or a very serious fan. That was why I say I like The Last Jedi, because it did make me feel, and it's tough to get that nowadays. Now granted, these people had a lot of star power behind them already. I mean, it'd be hard to fuck up a movie like this. I mean, but it can be done.
It has been done.
Yeah, it has been done. But that's what I walked away from when I left the film was some heaviness in my heart. Like, and you mentioned this idea of, well, now we have the room to just kind of go and do something totally new, which is great. I think that's totally cool. And it may be something for a new generation of fans to look back on like we're doing now 25 years later and go, oh, dude, remember when that whole thing, and now it's over. So is that what's going to happen with Star Wars? That's an interesting idea. It's an interesting thought. Is this going to be something that's going to go on forever? They're just going to keep making fucking movies now, which that idea to me is not the most appealing. However, we watch something end here. And it's always tough to watch something end. You know, to watch something come to an end like that.
For me, the hardest part to watch in the movie was when Luke is on the Millennium Falcon and R2-D2 turns on and he projects the original image of Leia. I was like, oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Don't you do that. And he even says that, like, oh, that was a low blow. You know, like, it was hard to watch. It really is.
No, it's
well, a
tough.
lot of people, like, grew up with these characters. And so when you watch Luke die, it kind of reminds you of your own mortality. You're like, oh, man, I've lived through seeing all these movies and enjoyed all these characters, and now an era has come to an end, and it's that feeling of loss that I think a lot of people might have contributed to them being upset.
Yeah, totally.
Because I don't think there's any way you can kill Luke and people be happy about it, I guess.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the fact of the matter is, not only did Rian Johnson kill Luke, he also killed off the Skywalker legacy in the same movie. So that's two major ass things. I actually talked to this guy on the internet, and he was so upset. He was like, they should have made Rey a Skywalker so there'd be more Skywalkers. Like, people are so obsessed with the Skywalker line being continued when I feel like that's the worst thing you could possibly do with the series, because you're just essentially remaking the same movies.
And we still technically have one with Kylo Ren,
yes,
even though he's
right
on the dark
Yeah.
side now. We still, so.
I really, really liked the whole thing with Kylo Ren and Rey talking to each other with the Force and trying to kind of lure each other to their respective sides. I don't know. I thought that was a really neat idea.
That was probably my favorite use of all the new Force powers in The Last Jedi. And once again, because the game is amazing, going back to KOTOR, I'm very curious if Disney or Rian Johnson, because he wrote it too. I wonder if he got the inspiration from KOTOR, because the exact same thing happened in KOTOR. I don't want to. Has everyone played the game?
I've played
Does
it.
anyone?
It's an old game.
Okay. Does anyone mind spoilers? But
No.
they do the same thing. Darth Malak. He does it. Well, I'm sorry, not Darth Malak. The Jedi Order in that game, they purposely linked Bastila and your characters' minds together so that you guys could, like, they both had dreams and they both sensed them. The exact same thing happened. And when I was playing the game, I was like, oh my God, did Rian Johnson play KOTOR?
Probably.
The exact same
He's
thing.
a nerd. He probably did.
He probably used that example. So I thought that was pretty cool. Like, that one, technically, that Force power we actually have seen before. But
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting that Rey embraced. I really like the idea of, like, when she taps into the Force with Luke that time on the thing, and she immediately just dives into the dark side. Like, she has no kind of, like, she has no reservations or anything. But I feel like that's a more interesting aspect of the Force they haven't explored, is the idea that Force is about balance, and balance would be having good and bad. And a lot of times I feel like the Force, they often make it like you have to be all good or all bad. But I also, that's an interesting idea that kind of ties into why Luke cuts himself off from the Force, because he has the fleeting thought of killing Kylo.
Yep.
Because I feel like if you're on the good or the bad side of the Force, and they kind of reinforce it with Kylo Ren in Force Awakens, it's a constant battle from outside influence pushing you to different sides. Like, Kylo's constantly having thoughts of being on the good side of the Force. He hesitates killing, pushing the button to blow up the ship because his mom's on it. They basically have intrusive thoughts. So I feel like to be a true master of the Force, you should be able to embrace said intrusive thoughts and kind of take them into yourself and use them to your advantage. And I feel like Luke never really kind of explored the dark side of the Force after the other movies, because he had the little taste of it and he almost went over. So he had another little fleeting thought. He's like, oh fuck, I gotta cut this off, because he knew how powerful he was at this point with the Force, that if he went dark side, he would be like unstoppable.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
that whole thing was so awesome. That's honestly the only theory of the last 2 years that I actually like, that this idea of a gray Jedi. And I honestly thought Rey was going to go that way, and she was going to utilize both sides of the Force, and, you know, her and Kylo would join up, and that would be
Maybe they'll be the first
new
gray Jedi.
Yeah. And it's actually technically kind of sort of a Jedi who kind of did that. Apparently Mace Windu did that. He kind of utilized both. And I thought that's actually pretty cool. It makes for a more interesting story, and I actually hope they continue to do that. I hope they still do that, because I was for sure Rey was gonna, because she kind of has that. She kind of has that aggressiveness and anger in her. That's where the stupid Palpatine theory came from, just because they thrust the lightsaber the same way. But aside from that, I think the gray part, I think that's really cool. So I'm glad you brought that up.
I mean, after Star Wars nerds spent the time they spent fucking analyzing these movies trying to find a cure for cancer, that should have been cured like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
They're over there like, oh, they hold their sword the exact same way. Shut up. Fucking nerds. God.
I know it's all in good fun. I'm a fan, but I wouldn't really call myself like a fanboy because I don't really get upset about it. I just kind of like to just enjoy what happens, even with the prequels, as flawed as those movies are, because they are fucking flawed. Seriously, I still like the movies. I won't say that
I like them too.
I won't say that I hate any of the prequels. Do they deserve a little bit of bashing here and there? Sure. Now this is pod racing. Like, come on, there's some shit in there that is pretty terrible. But like Revenge of the Sith, honestly, that's one of my favorite Star Wars movies.
I think it's awesome. I love it.
I think that's the best out of those three. That trilogy,
sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, fuck me, man.
What?
No.
So
you're talking. My understanding on this idea. I mean, I'm a huge fan of fun, healthy debate when it comes to things that you love and things you're passionate about when it comes to entertainment, especially movies. So I think it's fun to debate about things like that. It's fun because you can learn a lot that way too, I think, when you're going back and forth with people. But the idea of the fanboy or fangirl, right, that gets this, and again, we've touched on this already, the idea of this is all you worry about. Which to me, I mean, if you're that pissed off about Star Wars, that is like that's the ultimate first world problem right there.
Yeah.
If that's your biggest problem in life is how much you hate The Last Jedi, then you don't have it that bad.
Yeah.
Because there's other shit to deal with.
Well, it's just some of the stuff that I see like on Facebook or Twitter or Reddit or wherever, where they're just like literally like, this movie ass raped me. I hate it. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to me, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, you've never had a grandparent die? You know? Nobody in your family has ever had cancer.
You ever had your heart ripped out of your chest by someone?
Yeah.
I mean, none of this has ever happened to you?
Kalima!
I mean, there's a lot of worse things that can happen to you.
I just don't understand. Like, okay, you didn't like the movie, then you didn't like the movie. There's no reason to, like, go after people and want to rip their throats out because they actually enjoyed it. And that's the same thing that happened with The Force Awakens, too.
The fandom is just so toxic in every every fandom now. It used to be like, oh, just the bigger ones get like that.
Yeah.
Because, like the bigger a fandom gets, the more trash people you get in it. But now it's just every single thing you like. If you look at the fandom, they're just garbage people. Like, just fucking watch the show or enjoy the book. Watch the movie. You can have a little debate like, oh, it's fun to talk about. Oh, what if this happens? Or, oh, that's kind of neat. They might be connected. That's the fun part of fandom or fan art.
Well, no, the
but
mystery
they don't
and the
do that
wondering.
anymore. Now it's just like, if you like it, you're fucking Nazi and I want to kill you. And like, women are ruining Star Wars. Did you see like some guy made a cut where he cut all the women out of
Yeah, we were
the
talking
Last
about that
Jedi?
earlier.
I'm just like, what is fucking wrong with people? Like, sorry, Star Wars wants to have more people represented so other people can have, like, enjoy it too. Sorry. As much as everybody hates Rose, like, there's little girls like, oh, there's a Asian woman that's like me. And that could be cool like Star Wars.
And did you see her at the premiere? She was bawling her eyes out
People
because
with little girls
she
coming
saw
up
a
to
girl
her.
dressed as her, and she Daisy Ridley, she had to like hold her and stuff.
Yeah.
Like she, it's really cool seeing stuff like that. Like
that's great. Character still sucked, but that was great.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I know that's really cool.
But I
It
feel
really
like
is.
Disney does a good job for the most part with being diversive, but not to the detriment of a story. Like, they'll just, like, Finn's character is black, and, like, it doesn't matter that he's black, he just happens to be black. It doesn't, it's not like I guess it just doesn't make Well, aren't the also for one thing, weren't people mad because aren't the stormtroopers clones or something? I don't get the whole fucking.
The stormtroopers
thing.
were clones up to a certain point.
Yeah.
But even in like A New Hope, in Empire, and Return of the Jedi, they weren't clones anymore.
Yep.
They were recruited soldiers.
Okay.
Yep.
You know, the one thing that always pissed me off about the whole Finn thing was everybody like, oh well, he's gonna be Lando Calrissian's son. I'm like, hold on a second. You don't think there's more than one black person in the entire Star Wars universe? Like okay,
Yeah.
like he has to be Lando's son.
Yeah.
No, just
Just
no.
the black guy.
He can just be on his own.
Yeah.
Just be his own character.
The one I always heard that was dumb was he was Mace Windu's son because everyone wanted him to be force sensitive so bad.
Oh,
They just want everybody to be it's people get obsessed with their head canon of how things are supposed to go. They get this idea like, oh, it's supposed to go this way, and when it doesn't go their way because they're not fucking writing the story, they get all butthurt about it. I mean, I get being upset about changes and stuff, but like, just that's the movie now. So there are people having like, what were they having? Petitions to like have it removed from
That's
the
what I
canon.
said. Well, that's what I was saying earlier. Like, it's supposed to just be, they want it to be vaporized. It's like, that is an impossibility of the highest degree. That'll never happen. The story's written. It's there. It's in blood. It's in stone. You can't change it. You can bitch all you want.
yeah.
You will make it no difference whatsoever.
Not to mention, there's another movie coming out that's going to contextualize what's going on in this movie. It's a fucking trilogy. Like, everybody's like, oh, this hasn't been answered. What about this? There's a fucking
There's
whole
another movie going to be made. Yeah.
But what's funny is that there's fans out there saying, oh, the exact same people that were bitching about The Force Awakens and J.J. Abrams are now saying, well, do you think that J.J. Abrams is going to right the ship? Is he going to retcon everything from the Last Jedi to make the 9th episode right? I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It's Disney. They have a blueprint of how they're going to do this. They're not going to bring J.J. Abrams in now and be like, oh, you know what? Let's just scrap everything that happened in the Last Jedi.
Let you write it. You write it.
Yeah.
This is people just not understanding the basics of how movies are even made. Do they really think that J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson were kept in like fucking secluded rooms and they don't know what each other's fucking doing with the story of $1 billion fucking franchise?
Right.
It's just the stupidest thing and people are like, fucking Mark Hamill didn't know how it ended until so you're telling me in $1 billion franchise with the main fucking guy from the franchise, they just came up with a story and didn't tell Mark Hamill what he was gonna do till he fucking showed up on set? It's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. He knew exactly what the fuck was gonna happen with his character.
And in the credits of the movie, didn't it clearly say that J.J. Abrams was the executive producer?
Yes, he was.
Okay, I wanted to make sure.
Everybody is dumb. They act like nobody knows what's going on. Like, J.J. Abrams is like fucking sitting at home, wonder what Rian Johnson's gonna do with Star Wars, hope it's good. No, they fucking probably sat down together and fucking went over shit. Because he wrote the movie before, and he's writing the movie after. That makes no sense. I just want to punch people in their fucking face when they say dumb shit like that. It's so dumb.
And it was rumors, like, earlier, like, before the third trailer came out, it was rumors that Disney, like, really liked it.
Yeah.
Like, they were really excited that it was going to be a hit because they really liked it when they saw the final cut. And then it came out and it was like extremely polarizing.
I feel like in 10 years it's going to be regarded as one of the best.
Oh,
entries.
in 10 years, this is going to be The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
It will be because most people don't realize this. When Empire Strikes Back came out, the critics ravaged that too. Mm-hmm. They really did. A lot of people did not like the movie, and a lot of people didn't like the twists they put in. I'm like, how could you not like I Am Your Father? How can you not like that?
And now it's the most iconic thing in the fucking franchise.
Yeah.
It's the most iconic thing in movies ever.
I think it's just a little bit ahead of its time, and people weren't. And I mean, this is gonna sound a little, I guess, stuck up or whatever. Okay, I'll put it in a way.
We know
that's
you by now, Michelle.
Yeah.
I'll put it in a way that's makes it sound less stuck up. I feel like a lot of people, Star Wars is one of the most popular franchises on the planet. Everybody goes sees a Star Wars movie. Everybody that goes sees a Star Wars movie doesn't watch a lot of movies all the time. Not all these people do.
Yes.
So you have somebody that doesn't watch a lot of movies. They're like, I'm gonna go see a Star Wars, and then they go see it, and then it's got all this crazy subversive shit going on, and this guy's like subverting the hero's journey, and he's got like stuff going on in the third act you wouldn't normally see, and all this stuff. And they're like, whoa! I just came here to see Star Wars. I didn't come here for no movie deconstruction and all. It's like,
Right.
and this is like really light 101 style stuff that's going on here. It's not even like, it's not like it's like adaptation or some deep like fucking movie in a movie shit
Being
going
John
on.
Malkovich.
Yeah, it's not like anything crazy. It's a slight little bit of subtext and deconstruction going on, just a tiny bit, and people are like losing their shit over it because they're so used to a movie just being a certain way, and Star Wars being the biggest movie franchise of all time. Like they just didn't know what to do with this. They were just like mad. Like I saw somebody say Rian Johnson trying to act like he's so smart writing Star Wars like that. I'm just like, it's like
they didn't hire him because he was an idiot. First time.
Yeah.
Why would they hire somebody that's gonna make a crappy movie? Like it just doesn't make sense to me.
I think he did make Star Wars a little smarter, a little bit more intelligent, and I kind of welcome that.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, it's the event. It's the
And this is my shit.
evolution of the franchise too. I
Yeah.
mean, you can only have so many movies in a franchise before the fandom outside of the franchise starts being incorporated into the franchise, and B, they start kind of like taking it back to where it needs to go and deconstructing it and doing different stuff. I mean, you got to do something different. You can't have the same movies over and over again.
No,
forever.
you can't.
And it's, I mean, I'm not saying like it's not a masterpiece or anything, but
No.
I think it's really good. It's not Blade Runner, but it is. I think it's a really
No,
fun
I
movie,
enjoyed the
you know?
hell out of it. I enjoyed the
Yeah.
hell out of it. I had a great time, and I'll go see it again.
Yep.
And I'll buy it when it comes out on Blu-ray.
Yep.
And I'll do all that stuff.
The
Great movie.
other part that's cracked me up each time I've seen this is when they go to Crate at the end, the final planet, you think it's a snow planet. And he was a total smartass about that too. Like, I'm going to take these people to this planet that looks like snow, and they're all going to be like, oh yeah, it's Hoth again, but we're trying to make these comparisons between the Empire and the Last Jedi, and then they're all out there in their suits getting ready to fight, and when the guy rubs the ground and he goes, salt.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, he put another fuck you in the movie, like, oh, we're just going to be putting out the same thing over and over again, but really we're not. It's not snow, it's salt.
And the direction of that scene was also really cool too. I loved the little detail he put in where I didn't pay attention to it until my third viewing. Luke didn't make any footprints in the.
That's right.
Like Kylo, he kept making the red footprints.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Bruh.
When Luke was Luke never made any footprints in that salt. And when I saw it the third time, I was like, "Oh man!" Like he was.
The hints are there.
Yeah.
That's cool as shit. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
And plus, it just looked really cool when they were like speeding through it, and they would make those little red
Yeah.
streams. And can we also talk about when they went light speed through that other
Oh,
ship,
God, that was-
and it
that
does
was
that
awesome.
silence thing? I was
That
like,
was the coolest thing ever.
that's
was
some like
awesome.
anime shit right there for
That
reals.
was cool.
Do you know that some theaters actually put out signs to let people know there's going to be a scene in the movie where it goes completely quiet for a second? Do not get up to tell us.
Yes, I saw that on. I was
Really?
like, wow, yeah.
Yes, because it
I think it
goes
was
silent.
AMC.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
stupid are people?
I mean,
Like, seriously.
like I honestly thought like that kind of just silence thing. That's a pretty common thing in movies. Use
Yeah.
a technique. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem that crazy to me.
Didn't seem that crazy to me. I knew exactly what was going on.
I mean, it's kind of like, in Saving Private Ryan when he has a grenade go off next to him and it's quiet
Yeah.
for a second right after
Yeah.
that. Like, it's obviously for effect, like it just, I don't know. I was just like, and I remember it was like totally quiet when it happened and some guy next to me was like, wow.
Yeah.
I just,
I actually didn't get to talk about like my kind of tear-jerking scene in the movie. It was without a doubt my favorite character in the entire Star Wars universe when the camera kind of moved to the side and I saw the back of Yoda's head. Like, I almost lost my mind because
Yeah.
I did not know like they really kept that like top
Under
secret.
wraps.
I had no idea that he was going to be back in this movie as a Force ghost, and I felt like it wasn't just fan fiction. Like, the scene actually made sense, and I loved how he basically told Luke that you kind of have to fail. Like, everybody's going to fail and mess up before you can be better again, and literally every character in the movie like fails. and especially Poe, who arguably has the best arc in the entire movie. Like, he fails and he realizes what he does, and then he's like a better person at the end. So I thought that was pretty cool.
And also the fact that Luke is like making his decision of what to really do here, and he becomes a student again.
Yeah.
25, 30 years later.
Yep.
He's
That was
like
so cool.
the Jedi Master, but still Yoda is going to come back and going to guide him again.
Yeah.
Like that really hit home for me with that part. But best part of that whole scene is the fact that Yoda looked right again.
Oh, it's
Back to
puppet
the
Yoda.
puppet, yeah.
I was like, it's a puppet.
And another awesome, cool, mysterious use of the Force. Like when you're a Force ghost, you can still use it, and you can control lightning and everything. A lot of people complained about that too. I saw so many stupid YouTube comments like, "Oh, like he's a Force ghost and he can control lightning. Why can't he just go and kill Snoke?" And it's like, well,
because Yoda knows that if he went and did that, nobody would learn anything.
Yeah,
The whole
like-
point of Yoda being there is like Yoda is there. Yoda has a hands-off approach because he's like, I already served my time. Basically, if you're Force Ghost, you're like at rest, right?
Yeah.
You're kind of like you're
Yeah.
supposed to. You're the afterlife of wherever you're part of the Force.
You can't bounce off walls anymore either.
Yeah.
And do flips.
But I feel
Kinda
like
sucks,
the whole
but-
point of Yoda is like he's a teacher always, no matter if he's dead or alive, and he's there to guide, not to really.
and that's why he's always been like that's why he's
Yeah.
always been my favorite character in the series.
I thought that was a really good scene too, because it also reinforces the idea of the Jedi must end, and the fact that they burn the temple.
Yep.
They burn the
Yep.
actual physical representation of the Jedi Order, but they keep the text, because the text is what's important. It's kind of like, I'm an atheist, but it's kind of like how the Bible is this text that means one thing, and then all the religions that spawned up around it kind of misinterpreted the text to their own gains, which is kind of like the Jedi became its own religious order, basically, and they were
That's
kind of,
awesome
a lot
way
of
to
the
put it.
Jedi were using it to their own means and kind of ignoring what the words of the Jedi Order text mean. So, Yoda's like, the order and all this, none of this shit matters, is what he's saying. He's like, burn it down. None of this matters. All that matters is the Force, and how you use the Force, not what everybody else thinks you should be doing with the Force. So it's the last Jedi, the last of the Jedi Order, the last Skywalkers. Like, everything in this movie is kind of coming to a close, and then now they can open it up to a new set of movies. Because all these movies have basically been just like detaching themselves from the original movies. Like, each one has like been losing a person. Like, what's his butt, Han Solo in the first one.
Ham salad.
Ham Salad. I was gonna fuck everybody's name up. Ham Salad. Luke Skywalker died in this one. But basically,
Leia Orgasmo.
yeah, they're trying to like get everybody away from that stuff, because you can't do that shit. Those people are getting old also.
Yeah.
You can't do it forever. They got to get away from that shit and get to some new stuff.
And you know how like everyone says like, oh, it's a big universe and it's just so much stuff you can go on. That's actually never been true, because it's always just been focused on the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
Now that we're moving on from that, now we can have a whole huge universe, like with the EU. That's all of that awesome stuff is now not canon anymore.
Yeah.
Now they can make something new and have all these crazy new characters, and it can actually feel like an extended universe. Because Star Wars never actually felt like a huge universe to me. It just felt like the Skywalkers, which was fine. And now we can kind of move away from that. I'm really excited because now they can really just come up with some real cool stuff. And if anything, The Last Jedi, it kind of showed me that Disney won't always play it safe, and they will try something new, because I really think they did. Because I honestly thought this was going to be Empire Strikes Back, like 2.0. But they didn't do that. They actually made something different. So I'm actually I was kind of proud of Disney for what they did with The Last Jedi.
So,
Do you think there
consent.
could-
Go ahead,
go ahead.
Michelle. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you think there can be Star Wars without a rebellion fighting an empire? Like, that always has to be the main conflict.
I think
What else could they do with the
I want a
story?
romantic comedy.
Yeah.
Do you think it could
they
branch out
can-
into other themes?
Well, I mean, honestly, they did it in the 80s with the Ewok adventure movies.
Yeah,
Like,
I
as
like
cheesy
those
as those
movies.
were, there was no empire in those movies. It was, a situational type adventure story, which, they had witches and warlocks and different kinds of stuff going on, but there was no empire in those. And those films are actually, as corny as they are for the 80s, they're actually pretty good.
I like them. I like those movies.
I'm going to go on a limb and be kind of controversial and say no, because that's kind of what George Lucas created. It was kind of a simple story of good versus evil for like kids.
Yeah.
And if you go away from that, I don't think it's going to be Star Wars anymore. It's just going to
Yeah.
be some other science fiction movie.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
All right, folks. I think we're going to wrap it up.
We all liked it.
Yeah, I liked
I
it.
liked it.
I feel good about it. How do you
Blue
feel,
titty
Michelle?
milk. Blue titty milk.
Hashtag blue titty milk.
Hashtag, yeah, let's get that going tonight.
Yeah.
Let's do the blue titty milk challenge.
Oh, God.
God knows what's going to come from that.
All right. This was episode 70 of Real Crime. We
Oh
will be
my
back
God.
next week. I have no idea what we're talking about. But thanks for
Blade
listening.
Runner.
Yeah.
Blade Runner. Oh, jeez.
Thanks for stopping by, John.
Yeah, thanks,
Yes, no
John.
problem. This was awesome.
Visit us at www.themoviesleuth.com and find The Movie Sleuth on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and iTunes.